Praying. Our kind and loving God, thank you so much for this wonderful morning. We humbly ask, oh God, that you be with us this Holy Sabbath, and you may direct us. And please, God, may you be with me and be with those who are listening. We ask for all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Am I audible, Shami Shami?
Yes, you are clear.
All right. So, greetings once again. My lesson probably, I think, will be, I'll try and make it short. And it has a lot of information. But many of the things, it's actually, she's just repeating and enlarging and upon what she's actually discussing. So the context of the lesson is 2020, as we have been seeing with all the presentations that we have been following for the Sabbath. So as we are going to start this lesson, we need to bear that one in mind, that the context of the lesson is within the framework of 2020 and looking where at the time we were in 2020 and the challenges that actually was facing the movement and actually the sentiments that people had and the ideas that people had about why they were saying what they were actually saying in that time. So at this time we are going to start with a quotation that was that is actually found in it's actually 3 SM 162. Paragraph 3. Um, 3 SM 162, paragraph 3. It reads as follows. In reviewing our past history, having traveled over every step of advance to our present standing, I can say, praise God, as I see that what God has wrought. I am filled with astonishment and with confidence in Christ as our leader. We have nothing to fear for the future, except as we shall forget the way the Lord has led us. And this teaching in, so when we look at this this quotation, this just part that I have just read, it is actually written in, this is actually written in 1893, right? As she is actually writing this, right? And we are going to take this and try and understand where we are or where when actually this is actually spoken. So Ellen White, in her time, she is looking backwards the history that is actually leading to this present time period. Having traveled in the history of the Millerites, past 1863 to the present day, where we would say that actually this is the history of 1888 history. So she's looking backwards on how the Lord has led them. And she is saying that actually there's nothing to fear for the future. it is only when people forget on how actually the Lord has led them that will make them fearful for what is yet to come in the future. So now, when we take that and try to address our time, so when we look at the quotation as it been said, and then we look at it's 100 and it's 126. It's 126 to 1893. So we understand the significance of 1893 based on this number of 126 to 2019. So when you look at 2019, and we say that, look, when you look at 2019, and then we say there's nothing to for us to fear, like when you look at the past. So this is the line of the 144th of the priest. So this is 2019. This is 2001. This is Peniel. This is Raphia. This is the Sunday law for the priest, right? So the court says, look, as we are here, we are going to be looking backwards. This is 2020, right? So we are here in 2020. We are looking where we are here. We are going to throw our eyes backwards to when the Lord started to lead us as this movement, you see. So we are looking at 1989 to the present, and then we want to understand the future. But for us to understand the future, we need to go backwards so that we see how the Lord has led us, so that we may not be fearful of what is yet to come, or something that we don't know, which is yet in the future. So that's basically what the quotation is. I can just draw from the quotation when it's actually speaking about how the Lord has led us as this movement, and understanding where we are in the present. And for us to understand the present and the future, we need to go backwards and then see how the Lord has led us progressively, you see. So we want to understand the king of the south, and the king of the south and the king of the north, right? So we look at the first dispensation, and when you look at the first dispensation, we are going to see, first of all, before we look at this first dispensation, we are going to see how actually so we need to understand the message, or our message as the Lord is leading us, right? So we have, in 1989, we say that we have the king of the north versus the king of the south, right? And then we say this is Daniel chapter 11, verse 40, part B, right? So when you look at part B is going to tell you about, so this is what you're going to have. So you will have part A, and then you are going to have part B of verse 40. So this is 1798, and this is 1989. So what are the similarities? We see that you have the fall of the papacy here, which is, and then here we are going to see that we have the fall of the king of the South, which is the USSR. So what does Daniel chapter 11 verse 40 say? It says, then at the time of the end, we are going to have what? We are going to have the king of the South is going to push at him. And then the king of the North is going to come back, like in our history, if we are familiar with verse 40. So we are going to see part A of the verse. If we can just quickly go to Daniel chapter 11, verse 40. Daniel chapter 11, verse 40. And I'm going to ask, let me just check who do I have. Kanyivoye, you can read for us verse 40. Kanyivoye, are you able to read? Okay. Putai, can you read for us verse 40?
Okay. Let me look for the verse. Okay, so it reads, and at that time, and at the time of the end, shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen, and with many ships. And he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over.
Okay, thank you so much, Kutai. So when we speak about part A and part B, the first part, time of the end, shall the king of the south. So we are going to come see the king of the south. What is the king of the south going to do? To push at him, right? And that's what we are marking in 1798. And then we are marking that actually we see the papacy falls. And we see him, he receives a deadly wound and then he dies, right? That's what we mark in 1798. And then when we come to the second part of the verse, it says, and him, which is the north now, the king of the north, what he's going to do. So this is going to be a repeat and enlarge of this one. So the king of the north, what is he going to do? And then the king of the north shall come against him. So the king of the north now is going to be the one who's going to come against whom? Against the king of the south, which is also called him. You see, so you are having part A and part B. So we are going to understand this part B, but actually it's dealing with what? With our history. And we are going to see how these two entities are going to be interacting in this line throughout to the present. You see that. So so we have 1989, we see the king of the north pushing at him. And so that's a basic, simple, at its simplest level, and it's not in a complicated way that we'll have to explain, but at its basic level. So we have the king of the north. It's going to push at the king of the south, right? And then we mark that actually during this history, we see in 1989, the fall of the Berlin Wall, we mark that we see the USSR falling from in this time period. And we say that this marked a deadly wound. And in 1991, that's when it was fully dissolved, the USSR. And then that's where we see the death happen. You see that? So we have these two. We have the deadly wound and the death. Same thing applies when you go to part A. You will be having a deadly wound and the death of the king of the north in this history. So coming to our history, you have the king of the south, the deadly wound, and the death. So we should bear this in mind because we are going to try and then see it also. How is it applicable also when it comes to the developments of the message as it comes to drawing closer to the Sunday law. So we have the increase of knowledge, 1991, and then we have the formalization of the message in 1996. So 1996, we see the formalization of the message, which is the time of the end magazine, right? And in the time of the end magazine, it's going to actually tell us about this history over here. So here we have the arrival of the message. Here the message is going to be increased. Here the message of this history is going to be formalized. So we are going to see the time of the end magazine. And the time of the end magazine is the one that is going to point us back to 1989, to what I just actually explained over here about part B of Daniel chapter 11, verse 40. So that's basically the message that we get in the first dispensation. And we are going to see how these two entities, which is the king of the north and the king of the south, actually interact in this history. But what we see in 2001, we see nothing that is actually speaking about the king of the north and the king of the south. But we see when we get to actually 2014 and coming to 2016, that we see now the message of Daniel chapter 11, verse 40, part B, it gets to be expanded even more than what it was in 1996, you see. So we have the message in 1996, and then the time is going to what? It's going to move forward. And there's nothing much that is actually spoken about the king of the south and the king of the north, which actually gets to develop it more. But when we get to 2014, that's when we understand the history, when we understand the story of Ezra, chapter 7, verse 9, that actually also it's going to open up fractals to us, that we get to understand more of what? Of the king of the south and the king of the north, which is Daniel chapter 11, part B. So then this this explosion, if I can say that. This, we come to 2016. And what is 2016 going to teach us? It's actually going to point us to this waymark of Raphia, which is 2019, right? So we are going to have an increase of knowledge about this waymark here, which is Raphia, right? And this actually, what we see here in 2016 as the message increases, it's like we also are going to see the relevancy of 2016 and what Daniel chapter 11 verse 40 part B is actually all about, right? So 2016, in 2016, there's the message here, the increase of knowledge. Actually, it takes us back to what actually began this movement. And we have now, when we come to this history, we have what we see in 2016 says we see that we have the two battles, which is Raphia and Peniam, right? But we go to the lesson, like it expands, right? It actually expands. The message actually expands. We don't only see Raphia and Peniam, but what actually happens is that the study of Acts 27, that took place the end of 2016, brought us to the study of Pyrrhus, right? And the study of Pyrrhus and World War II. And so this actually gave us that there are not only two battles. We don't have only two battles, but instead we have 4 battles, which is the battle in 2016 and in 2018. So who can tell me what's the battle name here in 2016, and what's the battle's name here in 2018?
Can I try?
Yes, please, Shami.
In 2016, it was the Battle of Ipsus.
So in 2016, we have Battle of Ipsus, right? 18. So in 2018, what's the battle? Sorry, Shami?
The Battle of Heraclea.
The Battle of Heraclea, right? And I know that we have these ones as well, they have their own names beside Raphia and Peniam. So this is the Battle of Heraclea. So I just want us to come back to this Battle of Ipsus. So the Battle of Ipsus, what is it all about? I know, yeah, what is the Battle of Ipsus all about? And I will ask that we participate. We have Lindelo, Nombo, Patience, Kaniso, not Shamiso. What is the Battle of Ipsus about? What do we get from the Battle of Ipsus, if I can put it like that? We are just talking, we are just interacting so that we may not lose one another. Hello? Okay, let me pick names. Number? Number?
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Bongi.
Is it not the title of Antigonus? I'm not sure.
Antigonus, okay. Antigonus and? So, Lindelo, they gave us Antigonus. Who's the other one?
Demetrius.
We have Demetrius. And who's the other one? Who are they fighting against?
And Pyrrhus.
With whom?
It's Antigonus, Pyrrhus, and Demetrius versus versus Lysimachus, Cassandra. Who else? I forgot the third one.
So you have Seleucus, Cassandra, Ptolemy, and Lysimachus, right? So you have Pyrrhus, he is in alliance with Demetrius, right? So Copper, what is the application that we make with this? What do we actually apply? Because we say this is the Battle of Ipsus. We say, what do we say? Gift, do you want to say something? Slungile?
No comment from me.
Okay, so in application, we say this is Clinton, this is Trump, right? So we have Pyrrhus is going to be backing Demetrius. Demetrius is the representation of Trump, and then we say Pyrrhus is the representation of Putin, right? And we say Clinton is the representation of Antigonus. Antigona's name means the one who is like the ancestors. You see, that's Antigonus. So we see Clinton, Hillary Clinton, a representation of whom? Of Antigonus. And then now, Putin, he's going to be backing Donald Trump in the 2016 election, because that's what the Battle of Ipsos is all about. It's about, it's actually about Clinton and Donald Trump. And what this battle actually, what, if I can put it like this, like when you look at 2016 and World War II, what actually World War II was actually bringing to the forefront is that we need not only to understand that we have a war that is happening in two fronts. It's like you have the war in the Western Front and the Eastern Front. And that's one point. Another point is that when you look at America and the election that was actually taking place, it is actually, you have the King of the North being backed by the King of the South, but also internally you have this civil war that is actually taking place. And what actually the Americans or people who actually stay in America, they needed to recognize what actually these two candidates were actually standing for, right? So they represented something, both of them. They represented something that was much bigger than they are. So that's the Battle of Ipsos. So that's what we get to learn. Okay, so then we don't have only two battles, but we have four battles. We have the Battle of Ipsus, the Battle of Heraclea, Raphia, and Peniam. And another thing that we can be able to see is that we have in the Battle of Raphia, we have the King of the South versus the King of the North. And when you get to Peniam as well, we have the King of the North versus the King of the South. Any questions so far? So another concept that was brought up was the understanding that actually this we are actually in the information warfare. We are not in the Stone Age where they used to fight with stones. We are not in the age where they were actually fighting with weapons, but we were living in the information warfare. When you go back and see how our history actually started, you will be able to see the introduction of a World Wide Web. And you will see that's the mode of warfare that is going to be used in this history. And another one, it's the one of actually of proxy, right? So that's one point. But another point as I'm moving along is that when we go back to this history here of the deadly wound and the death, is that we can be able to see how actually the King of the South here at this last battle over here, we have the deadly wound of the king of the south, and then the death of the king of the south. So basically, it's just in a summarized form, but then we see here in Epenium, we see the deadly wound of the king of the south, and then we are going to see the death of the king of the south at the Sunday law, based on this battle that it's fought here at Epenium, right? So we know the battle here at Ipsis goes for the king of the south. It goes right for the king of the south, and then it goes right for the king of the south. But it is here that actually the battle goes wrong for him, and then he actually loses. So he wins these 3 battles, but then he loses at the 4th battle. So any additions so far? Shamiso?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Correction. Hi, Patience.
Yeah, I want to add on the first battle of Ipsas.
Okay.
Yeah, the first battle of
Yes,
Ipsas
please.
that you marked as a win to the king of the south. When you actually look at the way in which it was fought, it was not actually a battle that gave that was actually fought between the 2 parties, because we see an alliance between the king of the north and the king of the south, which brought Hillary Clinton to a loss. So the reason why Donald Trump had a victory over Hillary Clinton during those elections was because there was an ally, between the king of the north and the king of the south, because he also brought us to the history of Antigonus, where you listed the allies partnering. So we also see the same thing repeating, where we see the allies partnering, but we don't see a battle between them, the king of the north and the king of the south, in connection to how we've been connecting them. So the first battle, what we see is something new. We actually see the mode of warfare, not actually a battle, but the mode of warfare that is used, that brings the king of the north to challenge Hillary Clinton. Yeah, this is what I wanted to highlight.
Okay, thank you. So any other person wants to add? Okay, so when we look at this, we look at the Battle of Ipsus. It actually takes us back, like I said, to 1989. And then we get to see that, okay, in its beginning, it was actually simplified. Okay, we have a simple message, right? If I can just put it like that, we have a simple message of Daniel chapter 11, verse 40, part B. But then when you come to 2014, 2016 to 2016, you have the Daniel chapter 11, verse 40, part B. It actually begins to open up in a deeper way than it was before, right? And we have a clear understanding of 2016. We get a clearer understanding of 2018 and 2019 and 2020. So our understanding here is here in the beginning of 1996 about the king of the south and the king of the north, right? So we see one thing that we see is this constant growth of the message, and it swells and it becomes bigger, and it brings much light in the subject of consideration, you see. So actually, when you get even to why the message actually swelled in 2018, it was actually it opened up so much that it was to point out this waymark of Raphia, right? So the light was shining upon Raphia, but it actually reflected some of the light backwards and some abroad. But we get a clearer understanding of Raphia as we are looking forward to this waymark here. So in 2018, so we marked 2018 as the loud cry, right? And we mark it as the formalization of the message. So we see the message is going to increase in 2016, but when it gets to 2018, the message is going to what? It's going to be formalized, right? And it's going to share more light about the test, which is actually here in 2019. So another way that we maybe can conceptualize it, it's when you look at 2018, you can mark it as the beginning of the test, and then we mark it as the end of the test. That's simple level, and we can be able to see what actually the message actually meant in 2018. So as the message of 2018 actually we began to understand this team. We had people in this time period coming to 2020 that were actually resisting the message, right? And I remember that the people would actually reject what actually this message is saying. But when you go to 2016, they did not reject the message that was actually shared about 2016, about you have the Battle of Ipsus only. Right? But when you get to the loud cry, actually people rejected this message because of it actually required a change of behavior, which we understand that the message in 2016, which is the increase of knowledge, actually did not require a change of behavior. But when you get to 2018, the message actually required a change of behavior. So it became a test, what actually challenged them here in 2018. And people began to criticize even how the Lord has led us. Why now this message, it's like this, it's no longer like it used to be in the beginning. It's like, why are we rejecting our past experience? Why is it that we are actually doing away with this past experience? Why is like it's like we are introducing new message? But the point that also an elder Tess made, is that actually there was nothing new that actually was taught in this history. All this was a building upon what was actually taught in the past. So you have a foundation laid, and this is going to be the structure that is going to constantly continue to go up, right? So people were beginning to actually to question how the Lord actually has led us. And that's why the quote, "We have nothing to fear for the future except we forget how the Lord has led us." So people began to actually criticize how the Lord actually has led us and how the message actually has grown, because I think the problem is that they have not been following the steps that actually have brought us to the current understanding. So now the current understanding challenged their past understanding, because of they did not see how the light has been growing to the present, you see. So you take away one step, that means you don't have another step to move forward. So we only are safe, if I can put it like this, we are only safe when we are having all the steps connected to one another, leading us to the present time of that time, that which we are looking at. So yeah, with that being said, it's, if I can bring in this, I make this a comparison. Like you have the line of the, let's say we have the line of the 144,000, right? So you have the line of the 144,000. It all begins in 1989. It begins in 1989. You have 2001, and you have the Sunday law, you have the close of probation, and the second advent. Right. So we are under two lines. We were under two lines. We had two lines that, as priests, we needed to consider as a people. We were living two lives, living the lives of the 144,000 and the life of the priest. So we were two people in one body. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think it does. So we were having two characters to play as a people. So we needed to understand our line as the priest, and understand it for us, for ourselves as priest. And we needed to understand as well the line of the 144,000. That when you look at the line of the 144,000, we are currently under this dispensation over here, which is the dispensation of the early rain, which is the plowing, and the latter rain, which is going to be harvest, right? So when you look at this history here of the early rain, the same way that we see in this history of the latter rain in the latter rain of the priest, the same way we see the message of Daniel chapter 11 verse 40 swelled And the way we see the message the way we see the message actually swelling to the formalization, we can take some lessons from what actually happened when the message was actually swelling, or actually the message was actually in growth when we were actually heading to Raphia, when we're looking at the waymark of Raphia. So we are currently heading to the Sunday law. So when you get to the formalization of the message, right? The formalization of the message, it's all about the waymark that is just before, which is actually the Sunday law, this Sunday law of Daniel chapter 11, verse 41, right? So 11 verse 40, we see how complex it was, right? And then now, when we look at verse 41, we need also to see the complexity of verse 41 that we see here in verse 40. So verse 40, we can be able to see it was very complicated, right? And then now, when we come to Daniel chapter 11, verse 41, we need also to see the complexity of verse 41, right? So we are seeing the message, the way actually it is actually increasing, right? So, for example, as the study was done in 2020, it was probably here, right? That is where we were standing at that time when the lesson was done, is that we were looking forward to the formalization of the message. And we were seeing all these building blocks that were actually leading us to get to the formalization, which the formalization is actually speaking about the Sunday law, you see. So there are similarities that we can be able to glean when we speak about the Sunday law of the priest, which is in a fractal level, meaning this line is a fractal, like it's a shadow of a bigger thing, or of the real thing. So when we look at 2014 as the Sunday law, and we consider the Sunday law of the 144,000, which is the Sunday law, we can be able to compare and contrast the two. What are we learning from this one that is actually typifying, or what is actually telling us about what is yet to come? What is, yeah, I think typify, or it's a foreshadow of what is yet to come. Yeah, at that basic level. I hope I've not lost anybody and I've not been too complicated. Shamisa? Yeah, just because of time, that's all. If I can just quickly summarize as a dragon here in 2014, because we can see the United States speaking as a dragon here, then we need to be able to see how does this actually play out in a bigger or in a larger scale when it's actually speaking here at the Sunday law, right? So one thing that the book of Ezra actually opened up is that we have fractals. Like we have the line of the priest, the line of the Levite, and the line of the Nethinims. And when you look at those lines, we can be able to see that we have Sunday laws that are actually leading to the actual Sunday law. So you have the Sunday law of the priest, which is happening in 2014. And you have the line of you have the son-in-law that is actually happening in 2019, which is actually the son-in-law of the Levites. You have the son-in-law of the Nethanims, which is happening in 2021, which all these are building blocks that are leading us to the son-in-law of our time. So all this history was built for this time period that we are actually in. So it is actually, yeah, it's just this history is building better, this history of the 144,000. Do we have any questions? Any clarity? Okay, so if we don't have any questions or clarity, we are going to close in prayer. And then eventually when I make a review that other Sabbath of this presentation, I will speak about the other points that I did not even mention in this line. But I hope I did not move fast, but I did not complicate, or I did not confuse anybody. So we are going to pray. We are praying. Our kind and loving God, thank you so much for your grace and your mercy. We humbly ask, oh God, that as we see how you have always been speaking, even to the present, oh God, we see how sweet the message is. And it challenges our preconceived ideas. It challenges how we have been living. We ask that, God, may we not want to hold on. May we not want to conserve our past way of life, but may we be willing and be changeable according to your likeness. We are coming from the depth of sin, of patriarchy, and you know the minds and the hearts that are in this place and in this world. You know how much it actually impacted every one of us. And as everybody is actually grappling to get out of this deep muddy clay, we humbly ask, oh God, you may assist us, and may we recognize our own difficulties and be able to deal with them. And God, with that being said, we humbly ask that you may continue to lead and guide us as we surrender our will unto your will, that your will may be done at the end of the day. Thank you so much in Jesus' name. Amen. Shami, over to you.